In this next number, we had two ideas. One was to let Frank Morgan sing it, and the other was not to let Frank Morgan sing it. Meredith Willson solved the problem by creating such a beautiful arrangement that even the great Morgan himself refused to take a chance on spoiling it. Listen to the grand job Meredith has done on Chloe. Ladies and gentlemen, Tomorrow night, all over the country, thousands of you will be attending the first showing of the great new MGM feature, Yellow Jack. It is a grand, human, dramatic story, superbly acted by a brilliant cast. And it's a pleasure to welcome two stars of Yellow Jack to our program this evening. They will recreate for us one scene from the picture. Mr. Robert Montgomery and Miss Virginia Bruce. Yellow Jack is a story of victory. Victory over the dread yellow fever, accomplished with the help of those brave volunteers of the United States Army who remained in Cuba at the conclusion of the Spanish-American War. In the picture, there's also a touching love story, that of the Irish sergeant, John O'Hara, played by our visiting star, Robert Montgomery. O'Hara is in love with a beautiful nurse, Frances Blake, played by Virginia Bruce. Miss Blake is deadly serious in her work. O'Hara is torn between loyalty to Major Reed and a desire to return to the United States. Thus far, he has not volunteered to the dangerous experiment which Reed is proposing, namely that soldiers allow themselves to be bitten by the suspected yellow fever mosquito. O'Hara has not volunteered, nor has anyone else. But possibly Frances Blake will be able to persuade him. She's with O'Hara now, the two sitting quietly near the shore of Santiago Bay, listening to music floating out from the city.
You didn't arrange for the music, did you, John?
No, ma'am. Or the moon either. Both are a special dispensation of Providence, Miss Frances, which only proves what I've always said, that heaven has its eye on O'Hara.
That's a very comforting thought.
It doesn't bother me a bit. You know, Miss Frances, without your uniform, you're very human.
That music's very effective.
The beauty of the music of Cuba, as you may have noticed, is that it never ends. Even though the night stops with the bugle sound and reveille, and a man wakes from his dreams to find the stars are gone. There's a thought in there somewhere.
Why did you switch to the medical corps, John?
I thought the work would be easy.
I don't believe that.
Well, since I know you feel the same way about the man, I did it to look after the major.
Look after him.
And how right I was with him chasing around with his doctors, worrying after a ghost like a brace of bulldogs. Why do you ask?
It's that there must be an ideal in the heart of a man who sets out to work for the good of his fellow men instead of their destruction.
My ideal is to keep my natural sense of humor in the line of fire or come what may.
Did you intend to stay on in the army, John?
Until 5 seconds ago, that was my greatest wish.
I'm talking to Sergeant O'Hara now. Sergeant O'Hara who wants to stay on in the army. Drill. Maybe 10, 20 years of drill. Then another war and more lives thrown away. Then drill again. Then a pension and the old soldier's home. That's all being a soldier comes to.
Well, it ain't much.
Now, maybe for the first time since armies began, soldiers are given a chance to do good, not harm. To make the world better, not worse, is a place to live in.
I don't follow you, Miss Frances.
I cannot understand with all these men why no one has come forward for Major Reed.
You can't understand why a man doesn't care to risk his life taking yellow fever of his own free will?
Won't the Major get a single volunteer?
I wouldn't know, Miss Frances.
I want him to get one. I thought of talking to some of the boys myself.
That's bad. Don't use your sex to shame him into it.
Major Reed said tonight, if one, only one of our boys will step forward, he'll touch the heart of the world and the world will weep and have faith in this. He'll give the army a new kind of hero, the Major said.
Did he say that?
Oh, no, John. I could have cried to see him so helpless. His face gray at the edge of his great discovery, unable to move.
And what did you say to him, Miss Blake?
What?
Didn't you say, leave it to me, Major? I know the very man to volunteer. I know the very man for us, and maybe 3 or 4 more if I can get him. And I can't get him like nothing at all. I'll lead him back with a ring in his nose.
No, I thought if I could only...
Or are you trying to tell me that you suddenly realized what a beautiful man John O'Hara was and you couldn't do without him?
Don't let your vanity get the best of you,
My
John.
vanity may be so, but what a fine, rotten trick to bait a man on. If you'd asked me straight out, I might have done it, silly as it is.
I had to do something,
I
John.
want none of your apologies, Miss Blake, and no explanations. You had a fine opinion of John O'Hara, didn't you, to think of such a thing? I'm sorry I ever bothered you, and I won't again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we haven't time to give you any more of the story of Yellow Jack, but I think this scene suggests some of the interesting complications of the picture. Mr. Montgomery, thanks for a swell performance both here and in the picture.
Thank you, Bob.
And Miss Bruce, the same to you. But I don't need to tell you how much I admire your work.
Why, Bob, it's always nice to hear compliments.
Well, if we get together sometime. Anyway, thanks to both of you for coming up.